The modern 3.5-litre Formula One racing car is probably the fastest racing car ever made. Its engine produces extraordinary, controllable acceleration between corners. Its brakes control its entry into the corners in unprecedented fashion. And its fat, sticky tyres and special aerodynamic design enable it to be cornered at incredible speeds. It's literally impossible for anyone who has not driven these cars to even begin to imagine their performance. Even the fastest, most powerful road cars bear no resemblance to what a racing car can do. So we're going to start our film with a demonstration to illustrate the dramatic difference between the performance of road cars and a racing car. This is the racetrack at Estoril in Portugal. The Honda Concerto is a 1.6-litre family car with a top speed of 120 miles an hour, and it accelerates to 60 in under 10 seconds. Driving this car will be Autosport Young Driver of the Year, Gareth Rees. The Porsche Turbo is a legendary high-performance car. Top speed over 160 miles an hour, acceleration to 60 in about 5 seconds. Driving the Porsche will be Formula 3000 racing driver Alan McNish. This is a Marlboro McLaren Honda Formula One car, made by the company which has won the World Championship for the past 3 years, and it will be driven by Ayrton Senna, twice world champion. The McLaren's engine has been stopped because racing car cooling systems only work when the car is moving. A cooling system which would work when the car was stationary would be heavier, and designers always want to save weight. The nature of our demonstration is simple. We'll give the road cars a start over one standing start lap. First, the Honda. Almost 20 seconds later, the Porsche starts.
It's harder work to drive in a racing car, but you've got to concentrate much harder. It's much harder work. Well, you've got to brake much earlier, and you're not going so quick, you've still got to brake earlier.
After 50 seconds, the mechanics are ready to start the racing car's engine once more.
With the racing car, your backside is only really 2 or 3 inches off the ground. With a road car, it's a little bit higher, and your perspective of the whole circuit changes. There's some of the corners here that I didn't realise were quite so cambered as they actually are, because in the racing car you're so low and you don't see it from the same point of view.
The road cars look slow because they're quiet, but these cars are being cornered at speeds which would terrify even the bravest road driver. By now, the cars are about halfway round the track. Their drivers are highly skilled, so they don't indulge in lurid slides, which would merely slow their cars down through the corners. 3/4 of the way round the track, and the Porsche has the Honda almost in sight. As the road cars approach the last corner, the McLaren is in sight. This was the first time Ayrton Senna had driven a racing car in 3 months, and even he was surprised.
Everything happens very, very fast in a Formula One car. And when you drive only road cars for 3 months, as powerful as they can be, it's a huge difference. And you only really realize when you actually drive it again, even if you have driven for many years Formula One cars. It's really something when you actually do it.
This car was designed, constructed and is raced by members of the most successful racing car team in modern Formula One history. The Marlboro McLaren team has won 8 World Drivers' Championships and 6 Constructors' Championships. At the start of the 1991 season, it had won 86 races, and one of its 2 drivers, Brazilian Ayrton Senna, has won 2 World Championships and has made the record number of fastest qualifying laps, 52 pole positions. 31-year-old Senna, one of the few university graduates in motor racing, may well be the greatest racing driver of all time. Teammate Gerhard Berger, also 31, is a highly respected driver as well, with 5 Grand Prix victories and 6 pole positions. But sharing a team with a man who is the dominant driver of the day is not easy.
I'm usually quite easy person to work together with somebody, so I never had problems with anybody in the team. But of course I have people what I like more and I have people what I like less. With Ayrton I have the best relation from all the drivers what I had until now. And it starts in the point where you have to respect the driver, and it's easy to respect Ayrton because he has a lot of success and he had a lot of success and he's good. The other thing, of course, you need somebody what have a similar thinking than you, a similar direction of thinking. And we find a lot of points where we have the same thinking. The third is we have similar age. We have a lot of similar things, maybe even in driving, maybe even in taking risks sometimes. So altogether fits quite good, and that's why we have a good relation. Of course, the relation still can change. I mean, last year he went world champion. I didn't win a race, so it was maybe quite easy for him to handle a relation. And if the thing would change, or if the thing would get to a fight for a championship, it can change. But if I'm honest, I don't think it will change. I think even in a difficult situation, there's a chance we handle our relation.
Gerhard has difficult times, sure. So do I. He is very competitive. He tries his maximum all the time. He has demonstrated to me. And by using the same equipment as we do, you have a very close picture of what the other guy is doing, how committed he is at a given moment. In such an atmosphere, so competitive, so difficult to be friends or to have even respect. It is possible. We have respect for each other. We have, I think, a good understanding of each other, both professionally and personally speaking. And we work well together. And we are also friends when we are outside the car, despite lots of people predictions. So I believe it's a question of education, a question of personality. It's difficult, it's tough, but it's possible to cope with the difficulties, the problems in a constructive manner.
Ron Dennis, who started at the grassroots of racing and whose name is synonymous with McLaren, has steered the team through a period of spectacular and consistent success with different drivers, designers, engine manufacturers and even engine formats. He is the most successful Formula One strategist of the modern era. And when he explains why the team won 15 of the 16 races in 1988, you can see why.
1988 was a unique season. It was a season in which there was a tremendous amount of potential rule change, which was due to come in effect in 1989, and teams knowing towards the end of 1987 that this was going to happen, declined from making a purpose-made car just for 1 year. And we put a big effort into making a car that we knew would only be eligible for the 88 season. And that, coupled with a lot of very good work by Honda and our own engineers, created a very dominant situation. The following year, 89, also reflected the amount of effort that we had put in during the 88 season in developing the 10-cylinder engine with Honda. We had built some development cars and we ran many, many thousands of miles in 88, and on the commencement of the 89 season we were very well prepared.
One of Ron Dennis's skills is in relating to the companies that invest in McLaren. Here, he's speaking about the 1990 season.
This season, we have been fortunate enough again to win both of the World Championships, and of course that's only made possible by having the continued support of investors, of which Shell is not only an investor from a financial point of view, but far more importantly from a technical point of view. We're using very sophisticated fuels now that are blended and developed out of your research centres, both in England and in Japan. I am inherently shy as a person, and so it requires quite a bit of effort to, from a psychological point of view, to perform in those circumstances. If I'm talking about racing cars, I feel far more relaxed than having to get into the, let's say, the peripheral issues that you need to draw on to colour the picture. And so most speeches tend to be a bit of an effort. Quite large amounts of horsepower have been extracted from the engines through the reduction of frictional losses, and again now Shell has played a very important part in that.
To compete in Formula One with this level of success, a complex and highly organised operation is necessary. It takes a total of 250 McLaren people to send the two racing cars to the starting line.
The nature of the team, and you emphasise the team, is that each person that works within the McLaren organisation is geared to win and wants to do his best. Whatever component, whatever job he's doing related to the car or the team, everyone wants to be the best at it. And that keeps everybody going. And we're always looking to improve. We never sit back and think, well, we can't do any better than that. We're always thinking, well, there must be. So you're always looking for an improvement. And I think that's the main success, that everybody wants to do it.
McLaren cars are made in a modern, high-tech factory at Woking, Surrey, where 200 people work. There are 50 people in the race team, and it's an example of Ayrton Senna's concentration that even when the team photograph was being taken at the Australian Grand Prix, his mind was clearly on the race ahead. He made the best start and was first away. In between the seasons and in between the races, the cars are continually developed. This development work requires an almost weekly program of testing. McLaren, being a large and successful operation, needs a team of mechanics who only work on testing. Testing takes place at many different locations. This particular test was at Estoril in Portugal. Since the Marlboro McLaren uses a Honda engine, they keep a test team permanently in Japan. McLaren also have test drivers. Alan McNish is just 21, one of the brightest new talents, but he has yet to drive in Formula One. Is a test driver always the bridesmaid and never the bride?
No, what happens is that drivers obviously want to get to Formula One. And one of the stages of getting to Formula One is obviously going through the junior ranks. Whilst you go through the junior ranks, you've got to learn and progress. Formula 3000 is a stage below Formula 1. That is what they used to call Formula 2. And when drivers get to that, they are obviously looking to try and make a little inroad into Formula 1. Therefore, a test driver is a good little first step into the actual Formula 1 seat, because you can develop your own skills, you can develop your own physical attitude towards Formula 1, and you can develop everything in a very nice environment, which is the testing environment.
Now, testing isn't racing. Are different skills required?
Yes, to a certain extent, you've got to think of it in a slightly different way. The skills are still the same. You've still got to drive the car fast around the circuit. You've still got to come back and give the engineers all the information that you can. However, you don't actually have many other people on the circuit. Like today, for example, we've got nobody else here. It's just myself thundering around all the time. So you've got to try and concentrate on exactly what the car's doing and what the engine is doing, so that when you come back in, like I said before, you can give them information to the engineers. Per hour, then it gets the vibration and it gets worse and worse.
Is it lonely being here in Japan?
No, it's not so much lonely because there's quite a lot of people involved in actually testing. For example, we've got our own test team, that's McLaren. Also, there's about 10 or 15 people from Honda here, so it's definitely not lonely. It's just lonely out in the circuit when there's only one car going around the 5.9 kilometre circuit very quickly.
Our objective in assisting Alan through his career was to see if we could influence the speed at which he became Grand Prix material, Grand Prix driver material. If you are potentially a world champion, then the only influence that we can bring to bear is a shortening of the timescale. We can't make a world champion. We can contribute, and what we can do is stop, through our experience, a young driver such as Alan making mistakes which normally mean wasting time. And we've alleviated some of the pressures by underwriting his career, and he's doing very well. His performance in the car, our cars, is ever improving, and I think he will be and is one of the best talents of the future.
I mean, Formula One gets so competitive now that we are testing. And if you are prepared to do the tests also over the winter, like I did this year, then it's not a lot of time left.
Is testing a boring job that has to be done, or can you get some enjoyment from it?
No, especially now, teams having test drivers, and the test drivers are doing all the boring job. And so if they use us for testing, usually it's a very interesting job. I like it. It's very nice to see the development of the car, to feel the first time if the car goes out with this development, and after to give the impression. It's a nice work.
Anybody who thinks that the life of a racing driver is glamorous should try hanging around a cold, wet circuit at a midwinter test. And when it rains, the team may have to wait until the track surface has completely dried. On this occasion, the McLaren mechanics took a break from racing car engines to examine a car engine in a small, powerful Honda road car. But Ayrton Senna's interest was purely transitory. His dedication rapidly surfaced.
Time to work, come on.
But first, he had to check how dry it was out there. Senna had decided that not to waste time while the track surface dried out completely, he would like the track supervisor to close the circuit early for lunch.
Can they stop 11:30? Maybe 11:30 to 12:30 or not?
Very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Even for 12 is difficult, but 11:30 is very, very difficult.
Is it dry enough that you could just get a run so we could check the fuel pumps out, get that pressure ready?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, we can do that.
And then stop 12 to 1.
Today's drivers don't just jump into the car and drive around the circuit. They must be familiar with the technology.
You can understand enough about the system that can bring the benefit to your knowledge and your ability to optimize the systems, then becomes interesting, positive, and motivating. But not all of it is really good. Some of it is boring work. But it's the modern technology that is behind Formula One, and if you want to continue having winning equipment, you must have it.
No aspect of the race may be left to chance. The start is always a crucial moment. It is the moment of maximum strain on the clutch and transmission, and well worth practicing. It's no good the driver struggling for every hundredth of a second in the race and then having a slow pit stop. This needs practice too. Here, the Honda Marlboro McLaren team make their best ever time, just over 4 seconds. It's worth watching in slow motion, just to see what each mechanic does. The cars constructed in the McLaren factory are made to the highest of engineering standards, the finest of tolerances. The quality of the work is not dissimilar to that of a spacecraft. Engineer Neil Oatley leads a detailed discussion about the precise manufacturing problems of a wing section.
I don't think so. No.
What about removing the mandrel?
The calm and measured tones are typical. Decisions made at this stage cannot easily be changed in future, so you have to be sure you're right. These men are under great pressure to keep to their timetable. A few years ago, racing cars were designed by a single person, but now they have become much more complicated.
You can have very satisfactory performance levels with a pyramid structure, dictatorial, autocratic design process. But it's unlikely that that process will give you continuous world championships, because you are then limited by the output of one person, and they can be the best in the world, but nevertheless they have limited output.
Since there's so much pressure of time, computers are vital in speeding up the design and manufacturing process. This is computer-aided design for computer-aided manufacture, CAD/CAM for short.
That's great. Yeah, it's really good. The whole essence of CAD/CAM is that we can speed up the process of design to manufacture. Because this is completely three-dimensional, it's got surfaces on, we can even create it in solid. We don't really need to produce a drawing, because all the information is there three-dimensionally. It's accurate to millionth of an inch, if you like.
Well,
the computer has designed the component in 3 dimensions. The design has been programmed directly into the machine, and out comes a perfect result. So that the car can be tested in a wind tunnel, a perfect model has to be made of it, accurate to 1/1000th of an inch.
This model itself took about 3.5 months to construct, from start to finish, as you see it here.
Does anything work on this model?
All the suspension actually works. You obviously have a full movement on every corner, and it's actually representative of the real thing.
If the car were to be altered during the season, would the model be altered?
Oh yes, yeah. We constantly make modifications to the model itself. We'll try a variation of things that may not even get as far as the car, just to see how they will react within the wind tunnel itself.
The main section of the car, the tub, in which the driver sits, is not made from metal, but from a carbon fibre laminate, many times the strength of any metal for the same weight. To make it, sheets of carbon fibre are folded over a metal mould, which will be baked in a special oven. Racing cars are tailored to fit their drivers exactly. So Gerhard Berger visits the McLaren factory to have his seat tailored exactly to him. He's the tallest driver in Formula One racing, and it's no advantage.
It's the fact that the first where we flattened it out, it's down, you know, down on the spine. Is that right? Yeah. Are you sitting right back? Yeah.
If you don't sit comfortable, the race is too hard. Takes too many times where you sit not right and where you get pain, and then you lose the concentration. You concentrate more on the pain, or you have to remove your body, and you are not holding in the corner where you have a lot of G-force. So I think if you don't take time enough to make a good seat, you have problems all the year. Pressure here. Here. This one's here.
What, in the middle?
In the middle.
Yeah?
It's a little bit too high, yeah. You have to put a little bit away.
Yeah, okay, I'm up. Yeah, okay.
It's all the rest.
Do you feel if we take out the bottom, where your bum sits down, if we take that out, will that bring you back a bit further or not? No.
Every year if I make a seat, it's better. And every year if I make a seat, I think I should take care much more last year. But it's the experience.
And once you've been to the factory and you've had the seat fitted, is that it? It can't be changed?
No, it can be changed, but it's again all the work. And it's a long work for them. And under the year, it's not the time anymore to take care about these things. So you really should take care in the first moment, and you really should do it good in the first time.
We'll see you later.
Yes. I see you later for the jacket.
Jacket, yeah.
Okay.
Everything at the factory is meticulously organised, right down to the clothing store. Formula One drivers may be big stars, but they drive themselves to work, using whatever car their sponsors can provide or whatever they can borrow from their friends. One of the first tasks for a race team is to unpack. Several tons of cars and equipment will have been delivered to the circuit by truck, either from their base or from the local airport. Now, everything has to be identified and methodically set up, because the team doesn't only have to assemble the cars, they also have to construct their temporary workshop. When everything has been unpacked and the cars fully assembled, they have to go for an inspection by officials of the governing body of Formula One. The regulations controlling the construction and dimensions of the car are strictly enforced, not only for fairness, but also for safety. The drivers are big stars to the fans, but in the garage, they're just members of the team. Even if Ayrton Senna has a man whose sole job is to look after his helmets. This may seem indulgent, but the helmet is a vital part of the driver's kit, containing the headset for the team-to-driver radio system, as well as protecting him in the event of an accident. It isn't surprising that drivers have a close relationship with the mechanics, because however rushed the mechanics' work has to be, it has to be right. The driver's life may depend on it. Because the cars are so much stronger and safer than those of previous years, the results of a crash seem less threatening. We've all seen drivers jump unhurt from their wrecked vehicles. But this doesn't mean that drivers don't think about the danger.
It's very strong in my mind. And it's very good that it's there, the way it is, because it gives you the right feeling for self-preservation. At moments when you are dealing with a danger very near, in a way that it's a very close relationship, it's attractive. And being attractive, it could go a little bit too much at certain moments. And the fact that you are aware of it, that you can be hurt or you can die, gives you the ability of stopping at some moments where you really have to stop. And it's there, but I live with it very well. And it's something that I use as a self-preservation feeling more than anything.
Practice sessions aren't for the drivers to find their best way around the track. They're to set the myriad tiny adjustments on the car, mechanical as well as aerodynamic, to suit this particular track and its particular weather conditions. Of course, the car has to be perfectly set up, correct to a fraction of an inch. For example, the suspension alignment is not measured with the wheels and tyres on the car. That would simply not be accurate enough. So they're replaced with metal wheels whose dimensions are perfect. Each driver has his own engineer and mechanics who set the car up just the way he likes it. As the cars are driven round in practice sessions, sensors record all the vital information about the engine. This information is transmitted back to the garage, where it is recorded on computer for future analysis. This is highly confidential information which other teams would dearly love to have.
Sorry.
The computers now have on record the water temperature, oil pressure and temperature, and so on, at various different points around the track. Essential information for adjusting the cars and engines for their best performance. After the practice session is over, the team meets for a quick lunch and much serious thought about how the cars have performed. There are no snap decisions here, but the frowns are those of concentration, not concern. These debriefing sessions are among the most valuable and productive activities of the team at a race. Any hopeful young man who wants to be a racing driver might be shocked to find out just how much of his time will have to be spent studying paperwork.
I tell you what, before I arrived in McLaren, I didn't know that you have that much to do, because McLaren is a special professional team and is working very, very hard in each detail. And since I am in McLaren, I just see how much you can do as driver, and then try a lot. I think McLaren push you really on the limit, and it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of study, it's a lot of computer printouts, and it's very, very interesting.
In these sessions, the team is able to compare the individual details of how each driver has set his car up and hopefully pool their best decisions. One of the most crucial components of the modern racing car is its tyres. Racing tyres are made of a very special sticky rubber, but this rubber only becomes really sticky when it's warmed up. That's why the tyres are kept in these electric blankets. The tyre warmers are left on until the last possible moment. These tyres are very special, and you can be sure that they cost a very special price. During a race weekend, each Formula One car will use about 100 of them. To the public, qualifying sessions may look exactly the same as practice. Men working in the garage, cars on the track every now and then. In fact, qualifying is totally different from practice. In qualifying, drivers are trying to get the fastest lap so that they start at the front of the grid and don't have to try to overtake the other cars. A qualifying session lasts exactly 60 minutes and drivers can go out when they like. They have 2 sets of qualifying tyres designed to be at their best for only 2 laps. So drivers have 2 attempts of 2 laps each. The most crucial decision is when to go out on the track. If you pick a crowded moment, you may not get the clear run needed for a fast lap. Since Ayrton Senna is the undisputed master of qualifying, he has the all-time record number of fastest qualifying laps. His judgment of when to go out must be the best. So is his strategy always to respond to the times of the other drivers?
Depends. Depends on each event, on what situation you find yourself, what are your difficulties, what are your strengths at each Grand Prix, technically speaking, relatively not only to your car but to other people. Then you have to play the game as it comes to you, as it presents to you. There are some things you can change, you can modify, you can adjust. There are things you cannot. And with that, you have to decide your strategy.
When asked if a driver would be at a disadvantage if he did his best lap at the beginning of a qualifying session, Senna took a moment for thought.
No, I don't think so. I think it would require a different approach to it, simply. As I said, you have to approach it in a way that you can optimize the performance, whether it, at some events is relevant to other people's performance, whether in some other events is not relative to other people's performance, is only really related to you and relatively to you, what you can do. And it depends. If you have to do it at the beginning, you have to approach it differently. If you can have 1 hour, then you should do within that hour at the best moment, where you are best gear mentally to do it, when the circuit will be on its best, and you gear everything up to try to combine all the ingredients to make the best situation.
In this particular qualifying session at the 1990 Australian Grand Prix, Senna waited an agonizingly long time before he unhurriedly put his racing suit on. "44 of the 60 minutes had already elapsed before he decided to use his first set of sticky tyres. He did his best and came back in. Back in the garage, he watched the screen and the other drivers' times once more until there were only 4 minutes left. The result, yet another pole position for Ayrton Senna. Why don't drivers drive like this in the race?
You can, but it's not much of a use for you, because you wouldn't have the best performance for the race. Again, you have to put the objective to reach. Once you have the objective, then you have to put the things together to then how you can achieve it. And to achieve one quick lap,
is a different way of doing 1.5, 2 hours that race distance. Different qualifyings apply different strategies. Different races apply different strategies too. So there are some basic things which they are the same always, but they only play maybe 50% of the whole strategy, the whole program. The other half is really specific to each event, to each situation you find yourself.
No! Success, of course, has its penalties. The driver who wins races or gets pole position has to expect the reporters and cameramen to swoop on him. If he crashes, an immediate explanation will be demanded.
It happened the same thing in another corner when I couldn't get to second gear on the shifting down, and I couldn't stop the car on the brakes on its own, and the car just went straight and I hit the barrier. I am very happy that the car is very well built, very well designed and strong, so it has taken completely the impact without giving me any injury.
And however tired a driver may be, he still has to wait while the media try to get their equipment working.
I'm talking this level now, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Keep going, keep going. For God's sake, hurry up. Ready? Yeah. Do it. Go. Yeah, that's quite unbelievable. 52 pole position.
Formula One motor racing is one of the world's biggest spectator sports, and no event can start without an aerial display. And a ground display as well. Somewhere in the middle of all this, the cars and drivers wait out their last moments before they go to work.
The very worst car on the grid is probably capable of 95% of the performance of the very best car on the grid. And the whole grid is covered by only 5% variation from worst to best. And this it means that you're honing and working in such a very small area of the ultimate performance of the car.
The drivers also work in a small area, their lap times often separated only by hundredths of a second. Senna remains in his car, a beautiful girl having magically appeared to hold an umbrella for him. Berger has a few last moments of stretching. For each of them, Joseph, the ubiquitous trainer, provides some cooling water on their necks. Joseph is Senna and Berger's physical trainer, a job of great importance nowadays because the power and speed of the modern Grand Prix car impose tremendous strains on the driver's body.
You can drive a Grand Prix car, whether you are fit or unfit, but for how long you can drive, how precise, how consistent you can drive, under stress, under high temperatures, under difficult conditions during race is another thing. If you are healthy, first of all, if you are then fit, and that automatically not only helps your body but helps your mind, because psychologically then you feel stronger too, knowing that your body is up to the standard before you go to 1.5, 2 hours race. You know that's going to be tough, you're going to feel tired, you're going to have some pain, you're going to lose a lot of liquid, but you know you can do it to as good as anybody, if not better, if you are well trained, well fit. And that is psychological advantage that you have before the green light comes. And I know that by myself, by doing it, not by hearing somebody telling me. So it is very important.
It's easy to understand how fit drivers have to be. They're subjected to 4 times the force of gravity in cornering, 5G in braking and 3G on acceleration. This means that in corners, a driver's head with its helmet has a sudden increase in weight up to about 50 pounds. You can imagine the effect of that on the neck over a period of 2 hours.
Once you start to get tired, it's a normal tendency that your level of concentration goes down. So the least tired you get, the more natural you drive, easier will be for you to act, react to situations, to think about things before they actually happen, to be so well switched on that you can have the right answers at the right time, the most precise answers to the occasions. And if you are not fit, your concentration just tends to go gradually away during a race distance.
The modern Formula One car is so fast that drivers have to think well ahead of each corner how they'll handle it.
You have to think before. If the corner is there, you cannot do anymore. In the moment when you are in a quick corner, in the middle of the corner, you even cannot correct anymore, because each small correction would upset the car and would be very difficult to handle after this correction. So you have to think before, and if you turn in a quick corner, you have to have the right line, the right angle on the steering wheel.
Even if their car wins, a daunting task remains for the highly skilled men of the Honda Marlboro McLaren team as they start on a familiar but far less interesting job: packing. "10 tons of cars and equipment have to be neatly and methodically put away, a place for everything and everything in that place if it is ever to be found again." It is at least 5 or 6 hours after a race before all the boxes of racing car components are finally filled. The true end to any Grand Prix can actually be seen on the cargo apron of the local airport. Over 200 tons of Formula One cars and equipment, representing millions of dollars of investment by some of the most advanced technical companies in the world, the entire physical manifestation of the Formula One circus waits to travel to its next destination.
My life is racing to Ireland, and I love it. And each day when I do something for racing, it's nice and I enjoy. And my life without racing would be completely different, and I would not enjoy.
We thrive on competition, so although it is going to be difficult, then we look forward to that challenge.
You have to be extremely focused all the time on every element of the performance package if you are in Formula One. And as you feel the stress coming on you, you have to be able to turn that into a productive emotion, and therefore enjoy very quickly falls out of your vocabulary.
In the end, what matters is to do it the way you like to do, the way you believe is right. And you have to be positive, you have to be strong,
psychologically speaking. Very, very tough, very, very strong to go through the doubts and knockdowns and kind of war that goes on sometimes. To be tough and go through it and make sure you get to the other end of the tunnel.